So confession would mean that Kartel is what? Catholic? Not likely.
Oh. Good news this week for the world boss and his lawyer, Isaac Buchanan. A judge granting Kartel's legal team access to his cell phone, which they claim had been tampered with in the lead up to the dancehall star's trial and ultimate conviction for murder. That life conviction now the subject of an appeal to the British Privy Council.
When we get there, certainly it changes the dynamics because the case is about technicality, admissibility of evidence, and so that changes the fabric of what's before the court.
But the judge granting the order is good news for you, you're happy?
Of course, certainly. We have been through a lot trying to get access to that phone and, a lot of controversy surrounding it. It helps for the review at the final court of appeal.
Incriminating voice notes from the DJ's BlackBerry in which he could be heard demanding the return of his shoes or guns and threatening to kill the murder victim and dispose of his body were key evidence around which the prosecution built their case against Kartel. An amendment to the Jamaican Constitution before the Kartel trial, establishing a Charter of Rights, itself a window of opportunity for the defense to challenge aspects of the prosecution's case.
There's a lot of things going on in the public space in terms of trying cases in the public and making your layman decision of guilt or innocence. That is in breach of the Constitution because everybody is cloaked in the presumption of innocence. You know that not only was the allegation of the phone tampering and evidence that it was used while he was in custody, but the means by which they tried to access the information was a breach of constitutional rights because there were things in place and it wasn't. It was backdoored and used in light of the charter.
An Instagram post in May purportedly from Kartel spoke of the DJ getting baptized and turning his back on dancehall music. Nonsense, says his lawyer. I have decided to turn my life over to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I've decided to denounce violence in all its forms. He's not going to sing, write, or think violence, nor will my actions be violent. I want to be Christ-like.
That is fake news. My instructions from Mr. Palmer is that is not from his team, from his representatives, and that is not his position. In fact, he is livid that at a serious time when he's focused on his appeal, that somebody would think to make joke of religion. Because there are persons who take certainly Christianity serious, and there might be mixed feelings and unnecessary controversy. But to make it emphatically clear, he is not a Christian, and there are no facilities in any of these institutions which are subhuman spaces for any baptism and holy water and all that comes with it.
Do you know who this came from?
No, it's fake news, just as fake as the news out there about Shensia trying to sue Drake because she's pregnant for him and represented by myself. Fake news.
Fake news perhaps generated by a never-ending demand for information about the jailed dancehall star, his health, state of mind, musical output, his kids. Kartel a staple in the bigger dancehall picture, even from a tiny prison cell.
Kartel is as best as he can be, being housed in subhuman conditions in a third world prison.
Give me an idea of some of those conditions. You describe them as subhuman. Say why.
So there is something called the Mandela rule. You are allowed a certain incumbent space, space. You're allowed certain facilities like shower facilities per amount of persons housed, and they're still using buckets and defecating and urinating in these buckets, and sometimes have to stay overnight with this until in the morning, and 23-hour lockdown, and these things are unhuman like.
So the conditions are primitive.
Beyond, that's an understatement.
But he can still record music.
No, well, I certainly have no knowledge that he's recording music. So
Come on, a new Kartel drops
I
every
don't
week.
know.
We kind of know that, but I'm not making an issue of that. But at the same time, that it suggests some leniency on the part of the authorities that he has access to the means to, you know, to express himself lyrically?
Well, I can't comment on that. As you know, he was recently moved from the Spanish Town prison to Horizon, which is, you know, a more secured facility. The best persons to answer that would be the Minister of Security.
Would you describe his outlook as optimistic going forward with the appeal? He thinks he stands a good chance?
His outlook is my outlook. We have to be optimistic. We believe in the Jamaican Constitution and the Charter of Rights.
Does it surprise you that after all of these years of incarceration, Kartel still sort of exerts this spell? He weaves this magic. He is still a figure of mystery and fascination for a lot of Jamaicans.
Yes, certainly, he's a national treasure. It can't be surprised. Just some things are timeless, and you can't. There's no surprise with that.
So beyond being his lawyer, you're a fan?
Big fan. Major fan. I'm the son of a DJ, so at all times you give props to anybody that represents the art form. When you see, and I have to say, when you see Shaggy and Spice and Sean Paul, and they come together and they represent on the front, when you see what Skilly Bang is doing, regardless of the content, it is the relevance and the contribution that is important.
The Privy Council yet to set a date for hearing the appeal of Kartel, Sean Storm, Kahira Jones and Andre St. John.
Dancehall love me everything. Dancehall love me everything. Dancehall love me everything.